Welcome, everyone, to Around the ACL. Michelle Thompson here with Trey Ryder and Anthony Ione for another week of exciting cornhole action, coming off an open, going into an open. Big news. I know you guys are avid bagging and bragging listeners, so you probably already know that we finally got an intro video and it rivals the Around the ACL video, thanks to Corey.
I got to see it to believe it. See it to believe it.
So, I mean, you already saw it, though, because you're an avid listener, right? I mean...
Oh, I catch them all.
Yeah.
I catch them all.
Yeah, I figured. Oh, no. But in all seriousness, lots of fun things to get into. We're also going to do some Overreaction Monday, and we're going to do some mid-season awards. So lots of good stuff coming up for you today. Trey, how was your weekend? How much cornhole did you get to catch? Tell us all about it.
I watched a lot of cornhole this weekend. I watched almost this whole open, kind of doubles and singles, start to finish. So, I mean, I watched a good bit of it. So it was good. So we just did a bunch of cleaning and errands and stuff like that around the house. So I had time to actually watch and pay attention, which was great. So I actually am very informed about everything that happened this weekend. So that's really good. No. It was a good weekend of just, watched a lot of cornhole. You know what I did, though? I did not watch a single minute or second of cornhole anywhere except TikTok. So I watched our entire broadcast from TikTok this time, mostly because I wanted to see like what the dynamic was. I tell you what, it's my new favorite place to watch. I love watching on our TikTok because the audience that gets on those things is not cornhole related. Like if you watched any of the broadcasts this weekend and you were wondering why Jake and Wally had to explain the rules every 10 minutes, it's because on TikTok you had so many people that were commenting like, can someone explain the rules to me real quick? Because I don't know what's going on, and I love this. But I got to give a shout out to Jake and Wally. They did a really great job. They had if you add Saturday and Sunday, the views of our live stream just on TikTok, 1.2 million people watched the live. What? Yeah, it's taken off. It's taken off on TikTok. It's becoming a new place. So I really wanted to see what the dynamic was in the chat and how it looked and like everything. And it was really, really cool. We really liked it. And I think the only thing is, we got to figure out how to moderate all these bots that get in the chat. But other than that, they had over 5,000 people watching live at one point. So
what made us go to TikTok? Like, where did that come from randomly?
So part of it was that like TikTok in general has had really good numbers for the ACL over the past year and a half. And then over the past like 2 months, it's kind of plateaued a little bit. And generally, this is getting into a little bit of, nitty gritty here. But in general, if being a guy that's worked in a lot of social media, when you see that and it's because you've had really viral content in the past and it's not going viral now, it generally 9 times out of 10 means that you are not playing the algorithm correctly anymore, which means they've changed something. And so what TikTok has done is there's such an overwhelming push on the platform for people to go live that they're pushing way more live content and TikTok shop content than they are like a lot of the videos that would have gone viral previously. So now we're starting to, the idea was let's play the game. Let's play the algorithm that they're putting out there. And obviously it's working. So, but yeah, we'll be on TikTok forever now.
Yeah, I told Corey, because we're going to be doing San Diego in the middle of the live stream. I said, please make us a graphic explaining the rules because so that we can just flash it up every once in a while and then not
just
have
for
to
TikTok Studio, just for TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. We only need it for TikTok. But yeah, I'm like just thinking, ahead here. But that's awesome. Anthony, did you catch any of it this weekend?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, caught a lot of cornhole. Obviously some basketball for little man. We're in the they call it the league season, which is where you're actually playing, a 12-game league, and then you go into a playoffs. And then we have our tournament season, which is coming up in about March. So we're in this league rhythm where we have doubleheaders every Saturday. and then he trains on Sunday. So we definitely crush in basketball this weekend. But yeah, I got it fired up in the living room. I had like multiple, because, you've got like Nico Morellis going live and Adam Hissner going live, so it's like, I got these little mobile devices and I got the TV, and it's like, I'm trying to watch as many games as possible because we don't always get the best matches on the live stream. You can only put so much on a live stream. So really the games for me is, what's going to tell us a little bit more about the rookie of the year race, how the pros are coming into the new season, MVP stuff, the team's events, so you're trying to I'm watching 3 matches at one time. So it's you can't absorb it all, but it was a good time. A good time.
We just had playoff football on with cornhole, but what was crazy was we went up to the snow again, and some miracle we had service, so we were watching cornhole out in the snow as Rome sledding and doing all the things. So I did get to catch some of singles as well, but doubles was at home simultaneously watching football. So with that said, what are your thoughts on the event as a whole, Trey? So this was in Hamilton, Ohio. Aside from it being cold, which we heard several times, what did you take away from the event?
Yeah, I guess, it was a good mix. And I thought Saturday and Sunday were 2 very different, themes. I felt like Saturday was like the who's who showed up and put their foot down to talk about how good they are. And then Sunday, it was like, if you've never won anything before, you were going to win. It was just a weird combination of dynamics. I guess I'll start on the double side. Hey, I put him on the clock. I said it was important for Mark Richards and Tony Smith to win the Open, right? Or win an Open before the pro season. And I said it was going to be a failure if they did not do that. Well, they listened. And honestly, they were scary good. And they looked like the team this weekend that you expect a super team to look like. And a lot of times the super team doesn't live up to those expectations. More often than not, they do not live up to those expectations, right? So I think, in addition to that, I think, just seeing how they performed at a high level, it was kind of scary, because if they go on a run like that throughout the season, there's not going to be a lot of people that are going to beat them at all if they throw like that. Statistics-wise, they went 8-0. They threw a combined team PPR of 10.15 across the entire tournament. They threw a combined DPR across an entire tournament of 0.97. A 4-bagger percentage of 42%. And my favorite, points allowed per game, 8.1. And this wasn't as if this was a duo that didn't play anybody. You look at the list of teams that they beat, and it's just absolutely littered with ACL pros, most notably the team that I think a lot of us picked as a potential team that was going to win this whole thing, and that was Jeremiah Ellis and Devin Harbaugh. But in reality, Richards and Smith just came out down the middle. And you know what? I'll be the first to say it. I love the effect that Mark Richards is having on Tony Smith right now, because when I watch Tony Smith play, he's a completely different person. And I thought he translated that so well, being that he was much more, he almost looked bored, right? And I think that's important for Tony Smith to be in that specific.
He is bored. He's throwing slinkies. He's bored.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? He outperformed Mark Richards. He was better than Mark Richards in doubles when they won that day. Statistically, and just by watching him, Tony Smith could do whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted. And I think it was important. I tweeted out this morning, it was a significant win from both of them from a couple different perspectives in the all-time list. Mark Richards is now 1 title away from Jamie Graham and 2 titles away from Matt Guy. Guys, we could be at the end of this season talking about Mark Richards being the all-time ACL titles winner, and that's going to spark up plenty of conversation. I won't steal any thunder from future us. I'll let us talk about it then. But and then Tony Smith gets his 8th title, and he moves into the top 10 all-time. That's now 2 people have gotten their 8th title this season, moving into that top 10 spot. Tony Smith did it. Adam Hissner also did it a couple opens ago when he won doubles alongside Trey Birchfield. So, yeah, I mean, we could talk a lot about doubles. I think, Mark Richards and Tony Smith, I think, have to appropriately and rightfully steal the show in that regard because they deserve that. Other things, Ellis and Harbaugh are exactly who they thought they could be. Watch out. This is a team that I think has really good chemistry in a lot of different ways that felt natural, but you could tell that they hadn't thrown together a lot, but at least from a chemistry and a bag placement this is a team I could see playing together more in the future and something that we could see on a repeated basis, maybe even future pro partners. Obviously, neither one of these guys want to say anything bad about their pro partner, and they'll keep their pro partners. I'm not saying that. I'm just really saying this looked like a team that could really click with the multiple events underneath their belt. And so I would be interested to see if they play more together in the future. And then I also want to say, how about Matt and Brett Guy? I mean, for them to make it all the way to this point, now they fall off right there, right at the end. And I think that was just a little bit of, you're at the Final Four, right? So at some point, someone's got to win. But I thought they started to look like old Matt and Brett, and I kind of liked it. And I think they have a lot of potential to continue that run. Or are they going to be a top 5 team this season? I don't think so. But I still think they could be better than Jamie Graham and Frank Modlin. And if we look about a team looking who comes out of that partnership better, I think Matt Guy and Brett Guy have a higher potential as it stands right now. I think they could be a top 15 team easily right now. And then finally, Alec Ryan and Ethan Walker, I challenged them to put it together. They were individually players that were having really successful seasons. I wanted to challenge them to work together and have a really good doubles finish, and they did.
So
Ethan
good.
Walker was disgusting.
So good.
A lot of part of that doubles tournament. I think Alec just fell off a little bit at the end, but overall, a really strong showing, really impressive on the doubles side. I'll let Anthony talk before I take off this whole thing, just talking about doubles.
Yeah, so obviously our doubles winners were Mark Richards and Tony Smith, and that was my hot take, although not so hot, other than the fact that they hadn't done it yet. But they brought it together. Singles winner Jaden Ellis, women's Samantha Finley, seniors Dan Schulten, and juniors Candler Bag. Anthony, what'd you think?
Okay, I'll talk more singles then. First of all, Ryan Hart is at home going, Trey, stop talking, man. Stop talking about taking my partner away from me. But I agree. They looked really, really, really good. So if we kind of just focused on singles then, and I'll just take a broad approach, because for me, as we work through the opens, it tells a lot. Like I've been saying, I want to look at this thing holistically. What do our rookies look like? What we thought coming out of the showcase? Where are we getting those guys? Who are our top 10s in doubles and singles? Who are our top 20s? Some teams that, you know what? They're going to be outside of 50. So I'm really looking at this thing holistically. So I'm just going to burn through a lot, Meesh. Caden Howland out PPR'd Matt Guy in his bracket, which never happens. Matt Guy always wins his bracket in PPR. He threw a 10-5-6 over 94 rounds to win that bracket. He killed the whole weekend, singles and doubles. A 10.56 in singles, a 10.85 in doubles. Caden Allen was fired this weekend. Evan Vanos, again, talking about just this thing holistically. We saw him in the showcase. Took second in his bracket. He took down a guy like Damon Dennis. He took down Matt Guy. So a guy like Evan Vanos, now we're like, hey, let's start talking about or looking at him a little bit closer as a rookie. Almanza and Getty, 9th in their bracket. And remember, they're 8 brackets, so we're really spreading that talent around. I don't expect to see a guy like Almanza or Getty take 9th in his bracket. Where is the open singles winner we saw in Carson Getty from last season? I really want to see him perform a little bit better. The Ellis Richards, I feel like we're starting to get them more and more head-to-head in brackets. Maybe there's a little bit of a rivalry going on there. I'm not for sure, but this might be Ellis's first win against Mark Richards, if I'm correct. Mark Richards knocks him down. He gets his revenge coming up through the loser's bracket, gets that one win. Just want to mention that these guys seem to run into each other in brackets often, so it could create a little bit of a rivalry. Timmy Jonas, 25th in his bracket. I want to see him do a little bit better. Duncan Clemmer, 17th in his bracket. So when we talk about who's our top 25, this kind of tells a picture a little bit. If you're taking 17th and 25th in your bracket, when there's 8 brackets, a guy like Jonas and Clemmer expect they'll say it too. I expect to do better than 17th in a bracket. I thought Zach Lewis had a really good run. He's been a guy that has been on my radar a little bit. Just haven't had a chance to talk about him because he hasn't really shown up much, but a 5th place run for him, really solid. Excited to see him do that. Austin Cameron, another one of those rookies, taking 4th in his bracket. I've been waiting to talk about him a little bit. We talk about those 5. He's kind of just outside that. I think a good run for him. We got to talk about Landon Bass's run because he had to go through, he probably had the toughest run through this thing, but I thought it was pretty impressive, going through Brett Guy, then Mark Richards, 21-1. Wow. And then Jeremiah Ellis. So a really solid run. Not only did he win a bracket, he won a tough bracket, and then he made his way through a couple rounds into that finals. Tough run for him. Meesh, Logan Hall. What do you remember about Logan Hall coming out of the
he was a star, and
he was a star.
First drafted Cali Slingers. So I was watching him. I wanted to see if it was worth it.
13th in bracket. I expected more out of him just from what we saw in the showcase. I thought we were going to get more, but again, just tells us a little bit about him. Some of these players we're not seeing in 5 or 6 opens already. Sometimes they've only been to 1 or 2. So 13th in bracket, wanted to see him a little bit better. How about Matthew Troxel? Another one of those players to me, similar to Zach Lewis. He's been on radar. I've been wanting to talk about him more. 7th in his bracket, I thought was a good run. Another solid run for Joe K. I think we can say he's out of that funk. He continues to show up deep in brackets, singles and doubles. Ryan Windsor, for me, we talk about consistency. What do we say every time we get on a show after an open? Another solid run by Ryan Windsor. I think he's really solidified himself as a top 10 player and should be in all rankings. He continues to take down brackets and do well. Eric Anderson, 17th in his bracket on his home turf. So, a guy where I thought maybe would be on a comeback. We talk about comeback a little bit later. Not quite there. I want to see Anderson do a little bit better. Ben Brown, a guy who's won a bracket and opened 13th in bracket. We can say Mason Trader is good too. We talk a lot about Ryan Trader, his twin brother, right? I want to say they're twins, twin brother, Mason Trader. Made a solid run. He could be a really good player in this game as well. Juwan Smith, again, another rookie coming out of the showcase. He was pretty impressive. He takes 5th in his bracket, made a really good run there. So starting to put him on radar a little bit. Elizabeth Tennyson takes 3rd in her bracket. What? Now, if you look at it a little bit closer, it was an easy run. Let's be serious. Elizabeth will probably agree. Didn't play a pro until she got all the way to Schlobaum in that 3rd place match, lost it. So all of her wins to amateurs, and a lot of them I didn't even know who they were. But still a solid run, 3rd place in bracket. Schlobaum showing up, a guy that when he came in, he was kind of at the top. We were talking about him a lot. Good to see him show up. Bernasette taking down a bracket. Are we talking about him as a top 10, 15 guy? No, not really. And if you look at his bracket, it was a pretty light bracket, but it kind of gives you we're talking about dedicated pro players that are making this their job. You expect guys like Bernasette to show up. We always say, oh, these high school kids, they're really good because they go to class and they play cornhole. Well, there's adults out there who are just playing cornhole. They don't have class. So there are some guys like Windsor, Bernasette, Jordan Power. These guys are dedicated pro players. We should be seeing them perform just like these young high school kids that have a lot of time in this game. So happy to see Bernasette take down a bracket. Can we talk about Nico Morellis for a minute? This one's a proud moment for me just because, Nico's not just a great player in this game, but he's a friend as well. And we saw him, had this unbelievable season his rookie year where he was I want to say he was top 8 or 7 in PPR in the whole league, and then finished 101st or something like that. And we're all scratching our head going, how is he one of the best scorers in the game? But then he finished 100 and something. He definitely improved last year, continues to threaten brackets. He got it done this time, and against another name that just came on radar. And I think we're going to continue to see this trend. Braden Patterson. Have you guys heard? Is this name at all on your guys' radar?
Nope.
Because he comes out, makes it to the championship match. He beat Walker to get there. He beats Ethan Walker to get there. He beat Nico Morellis in the first scoop, if I remember correctly. amazing player. And again, it's just like these names keep coming up, but it's Nico Morales. I think he's missing that one thing. He's got this Matt Guy-esque mentality. I shouldn't say overuse of the airmail, because it does rescue him a lot and it does put him in good position. But times where I'm like, don't shoot that. And then he shoots it, I think that he does have a legitimate a front tilt cut bag. That's how he throws it. I think he could use that ability to move right to left a little bit more, whether it be getting in side by sides versus airmailing over the top of a level 1. I think that'll improve him a lot, or really getting that to go around blockers as opposed to airmailing. Because his first thought is, I'm going to airmail over a level 1.5 too. I think Nico Morales, if he could just introduce one more shot, and I think because he already has that natural tilt, let's use that to put yourself in position to not just take second place or third base in brackets, but to continue to win brackets. And I think that goes to show, when we look at the top, all the players who are winning opens, whether it's doubles or singles, they're all missing, they all have that thing, and the guys right outside are missing that one more shot. And I think Nico Morales is in that bucket. I have like 10 more I'd love to talk about, Meesh, but
you got to get to the winner.
Yeah, I got to get to the winner there. But yeah, so we get to that singles final. And was this a rematch of this? This was the semifinal in high school, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we got a rematch. We get a rematch of the high school semifinals for the finals of this Open. Jaden Ellis got on TV. He just wasn't the player he was all day. He was giving up twos. He had chances to capitalize, didn't. He had a lot of bags jammed. That broadcast just didn't go the way he wanted. Obviously, Landon Bass goes on to the final. Well, he gets his revenge this time. And if we look at Jeremiah Ellis's game, I think I love his game because it's a true hybrid game. I wouldn't call him a roll guy. I wouldn't call him a guy who runs bag and shoots airmail. He really does have all the shots, and he uses them sparingly. Very like Mark Richards, like to me. He's got that roll bag, but he only uses it when it's the right time. He has an amazing airmail, and typically we see these roll guys, they roll so much that their airmail kind of comes down. I think he's really leveled those out to where his roll bag and his airmail are just as deadly, and he can use those. His push bag, with that exaggerated step through, that slick side works really well for him to punch through. So no surprise that he won that. This is the world's amateur champ. He's beating guys in conferences like Bernasset. He's been beating guys at the top level for a long time. No surprise. But I kind of wanted a Jordan Power, Jeremiah Ellis final. Just saying.
Didn't we all?
Just saying.
We all?
I was gonna say that we did get them in doubles though, and the doubles
we did.
Fun.
It was so fun. I wish we had more players like that, because that was pure entertainment.
Yeah, guys, if you missed that, go back and watch that doubles matchup. It was awesome to get it from both sides. You had Ellis out there like, hey, Power, you don't talk so much when you're down, huh? Like in the middle of the game, like he's getting him going. Power takes a timeout, shanks the shot. And he's like, yeah, that timeout didn't work. Just like totally getting in his head. I was loving it.
He dishes it.
More of that.
What I appreciate about Ellis is that he also compliments, right? So he goes both. Like, yeah, he'll dish it, but then he'll be like, that was a great shot, and that's
Facts.
I can't do that. When someone throws a good shot, I'm like, I'm gonna pretend that didn't happen. So I appreciate it. All right, moving on to Overreaction Monday. So are these overreactions? Mark Richards and Tony Smith are almost unbeatable.
I don't think it's an overreaction. Look, and here's why. You take the number 1 and number 2 best players in the world from last year. You put them in as a doubles team, and in theory, they should be the best team in the world. And they should rarely lose, right? The only thing is, what if it doesn't click? What if it just doesn't work? Well, now it's working. They've already shown that it can work. Like, look, I don't know if they'll do what Eddie and Caleb did this last year, but what I see from them is not something that I'd want to see if I was in the pro division. I don't think it's an overreaction at all.
Okay. Anthony?
I'm going to say it's an overreaction, man. The talent is just way too deep to say that someone's almost unbeatable. Will we see them consistently in bracket finals? Absolutely. But getting out of these brackets is so tough. The talent is so deep. I'm going to say overreaction, but definitely they're a top 3, 2, 3, 1 team. But unbeatable, that's a powerful word.
Jeremiah Ellis has a problem finishing tournaments.
Wow.
This is a little bit of an overreaction.
Okay.
I think like this could very be much a case of like the guy does this throughout the opens and then he comes out and he wins 2 pro events, right? I mean, we could be talking about it in that regard, right? So I think it's just too early. He's a rookie. You got to give him time to figure it out, right? And it's not as if we're seeing here,
Right.
on that last game. It's pretty consistent, and some people are just having their best game right there at the end. If anything, maybe we'd love to see him kind of peaking right at the end, but that takes time to do at this level. So it's an overreaction.
Anthony?
I agree. It's an overreaction. And if we look at those losses, he lost to Bass. He threw a 10-7-6 and lost by 1 bag.
Yeah.
In the doubles final, he was the best player. You're getting deep into these brackets. He was the best player in my opinion. In the bracket playoff against Tony Smith missed 3 bags the whole game. So that's tough. And then if you go all the way back to his loss against Richards, I don't know, Open 4 or something way back there, he threw a 10-6-5 and lost. So overreaction. The dude's just running into really tough. People are bringing their best at the times where he's losing.
Jaden Ellis is the top pro prospect in the country.
Not an overreaction. He won the Advanced Singles World Championship. I think, we saw what he could do in high school, and then he wins his first Open. I mean, I think the kid is absolutely legit and should be the top pro prospect right now across the country. The only concern I have is like, I just want to see him on a broadcast one more time to show me that his lesser performance was a fluke and not a pattern. But other than that, I don't think it's overreaction at all to see he's the top.
Anthony?
Yeah, not overreaction. I mean, you got to look at it all levels for the resume, right? Let's look at regionals and conferences. How's he doing? Well, he's beating Bernasette. He's beating Joe Kay. He's always deep in conferences. You mentioned the world's amateur champ. He's even doing well in doubles with players that were completely off radar. He won his doubles bracket at Worlds, so he's doing all the things. He's already got that TV broadcast through the high school college championship. Now he's winning Opens, so he's definitely that pedigree that's going to come in and could be a top 20 player in the league. So yeah, I'd have to agree.
That's true. Clearly that broadcast that didn't go his way didn't shake him because he comes back and wins an Open
right
after
back.
that. Matt and Brett Guy are back in the top 10 discussion.
I'll say they're in the discussion. I don't think it's an overreaction, right? Because what we were waiting for was for them to get back in a dominating fashion. And yes, they lose 1 game in that playoff, but they looked really good. And they were back to that Matt and Brett dynamic that we kind of like, right? The one where, they're up 19-4 and Brett makes a dumb mistake and Matt is just, cussing Brett out from the other end. Like, you're up 19-4. Like, what's like
just good old dad-father time or dad-son time.
Yeah, it's like we kind of like that, and I think it's been missing in the game. So, like, I wouldn't put them in my top 10, but they're now on that short list where I would start looking at it, and I think that's where they want to be. So I don't think it's an overreaction to say that at all.
Anthony?
Not an overreaction. They're always going to be in the discussion. They're not on the top 10 right now, my top 10, but always in the discussion, especially when Matt Guy's in the mix. Anything could happen with that guy.
Elizabeth Tennyson is expected to be a top 3 woman in the sport this year.
I think it's a little bit of an overreaction. Now, I will say, I'm probably higher on her performance than Anthony was, right? Anthony alluded to the bracket being very, soft, right, for lack of a better term, which I would agree with. It wasn't the hardest bracket, but when I watched her games, she didn't make the big mistake, and she took advantage of points when she needed, right? If not for she had an epic collapse against Bernasette right there at the end. If she doesn't have that collapse, she's winning that game, right? She's right there at the end of beating someone in a bracket final for a queen seat. Like, all of these things are laid up. So she's got the potential. I would actually put her as a number 5 female right now, simply on that performance. To get into top 3 is a little bit too much. So for that, I'll say it's a little bit of an overreaction.
Especially because of who you had to take out. Anthony?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, what did we learn from Tennyson in that shootout? The first time she really came on the radar nationally is she can be the best player in the room for a given game. She does have that high ceiling. It's just the consistency over time. What does the floor look like? I mean, when you're talking about Rosie Streaker still out there, Bella's now back into the mix. You know, what's going to happen with Cheyenne, with the baby and all that responsibility is still to be determined. Finley's still killing it. Cassidy's still out there. Hunter Irwan, that's going to be a tough mix to get in there and say I'm top 3. And she lost to Finley in the women's bracket 21-12. I think Finley has her. I think that's an overreaction.
Fair enough. Moving on to our next Open coming up this weekend, January 19th to the 21st in Bryan, Texas. Have a feeling we're going to see a lot of Texans there at this Open, and that is one of the meccas of cornhole, Texas and Florida. So I'm excited to see the talent that shows up. Trey, who are you looking at?
Yeah, I'm looking at a lot of Texas players. But I think this is a very important Open for one team and one team only. Who am I going to say, Anthony? You're on mute.
It's important for one team and one team only.
Who am I going to say?
Man. I don't know.
Eddie Grindersleeve and Caleb back.
You think? Yeah. Why so?
I think it's important because you were the best, and they don't need to win. They don't need to win. But you were the best team in the world. You had the best season ever in the recorded history of the ACL. And somehow, in 5 months after that performance, you have nobody talking about you. Not a one. How is that physically possible? It's because they may not have been playing together, not traveling as much. Fine. I get all that. I'm not saying they did anything incorrect to get where they are. But I am saying is you have an Open in your home state, a little bit smaller than some of these other large events, right? There needs to be a minimum of a 3rd place finish here. Minimum, I think, in my mind, right? Fine. You tell me they go out and finish 3rd and they lose to Logan Chamberlain and Justin Burton Jr. Actually, I didn't even see that they're on the list playing, but Gavin Cano and Fisher Hamilton, fine, whatever. I get it. You're losing to a top tier team and it's close, but you can't come out and finish 10th. You can't come out finish 13th.
They won't.
That's why I'm saying it's important because if they do, Anthony, what one of those buy or sells is going to be next week, right? You can see it ahead of time, right? If Eddie Grinder's and Caleb Batson come out, what if they finish 17th? You're going to be concerned. I know you're going to be concerned, and everybody should be concerned, right? Because we're talking about a team that was literally couldn't lose to go to where they are now. So I think it's important for them to have a really, really good showing this weekend. To Anthony's point, they're probably going to. Right. I think they're going to be just fine. Now, going off of who I think it's the most important for, there's also a lot of other things to watch, right? On this list, I see Gavin Cano. He was probably the only bracket winner. He was probably in that 8 people that we didn't let Anthony get to, right? That of the list of people that really performed this past weekend in Myrtle Beach, he wins his bracket again. I still think Gavin Cano is one of the most underrated singles players out there. And it's crazy to say that because he's not like people don't like him at all. It's that for whatever reason, I don't know if it was because he's paired up with Fisher and Fisher got his last year. Fisher's won Opens before, right? That because he's paired with him, he's viewed as the B player. And since he's viewed as the B player, he can't go on and be a dominant singles player himself. Well, I think he's shown that that's absolutely not true. So for me, when I talk about it, he's dominated some of the performances in Texas, right? He's won some conference events. I expect him to do quite well as well. Then probably the third person I'm kind of really excited to see and watch now is Braden Wilson.
Yeah.
This is a rookie that a lot of people have been talking about, right? Someone that's going to be a really high performer, a kid that's got a great head on his shoulders, young kid looking to perform at a high level. Everybody's got him on the Rookie of the Year watch list. Everybody else that we kind of have on that watch list has already had somewhat of a signature performance so far this season. You could maybe argue Sammy Soto hasn't quite seen it, but he's got that opportunity this weekend to do the same. But look at Caden Allen. Anthony has already talked about what he did just even this past weekend. Ryan Traders won 2 opens. Jeremiah Ellis has almost won like 4 events already. So when we talk about this list of Rookie of the Year and the ballots and what they look like, to me, as of right now, it's tough to put Braden Wilson anywhere close to that conversation. Personally, what I've seen this year. Now, we haven't seen him a lot, and now you're putting him in Texas, a home event, if you will, with an opportunity to play at a really high level, which is what everybody from Texas says the kid already does. So he can extend that reach and extend that perception that he should be one of those Rookie of the Year candidates this weekend by his performance. So I'm watching those 3 in particular because I think when you have a somewhat smaller field, it's in the state of Texas, you got to watch the players that are expected to defend their home turf.
Absolutely. Anthony, who are you looking at?
Yeah, just kind of burning down this one live. Fun one here. You got the actual bag maker and the sponsored player, Renard and Creek Killer, going to team up. I thought it's kind of bummer because, we're getting closer to the team event. This is an opportunity for Windsor and Creek Killer to really get together and start honing that chemistry, working together. So I don't see Windsor in the field here, so he's going to miss out on that one. Staying in that same area, you've got Costanza and Soprenant going to be teaming up. This one's pretty fun. And actually, I think it's worthy of a follow, like almost trying to check out every match. Jacob Gore and Steve Schrader. Stop playing. That's like opposite sides of the spectrum, right?
In so many ways, yes.
But they could do damage. I mean, you have 2 completely different style players, age,
what are they
height,
throwing?
I mean, you name it, bag styles, everything is different. What are they going to throw? That one could be kind of fun. You mentioned Grindersleeve Batson. I said it one time in the show, they could suck in every open all the way to the pro event, and I wouldn't be worried. I'm going to stand by that. It kind of goes against what Trey is saying, but these guys just have too much history, too much chemistry for any of that really to bother them. I think they come into the pro season ready to rock and roll. Almanza Trzynski going to be tough. Here's a kind of a mix up in partnerships. That one's going to be fun. We're going to get to see the dedicated pro partners, Sammy Soto and Jackson Gore, back together. I'm excited to see this one just from a top 10 discussion, probably maybe outside of some of the top 10s, maybe slipping in. I think here's an opportunity to really solidify that discussion. I think there's a whole storyline around Logan Chamberlain right now, possibly the best doubles player in the game. This one might shock you a little bit. He's won, what do we have? We just had our 7th Open. He's won 3 doubles Open championships with 2 different partners. This is going to be a 3rd one with Gavin Cano. How crazy would that be if Logan Chamberlain comes in, pulls a 4th doubles title with 3 partners in the same season? That would be pretty amazing. So I'm going to have a close eye on those guys just because of that storyline. Love seeing some guys like Dylan Turpin coming out. We don't get to see him a lot, and we know he's a top player. What does Dylan Turpin look right now? Has he been evolving that piece he's been missing to take him off of the best second-place player in the world right now? He always takes second. What has he added to his game going into 2024 to get him over that hump? I want to see that. And then you mentioned Braden Wilson and AJ Sims. Again, similar storyline. We don't get AJ Sims all the time. We don't get Braden Wilson all the time. So I'm excited to see those 3 guys essentially in their home turf, Oklahoma, Texas, whatever you want to say, competing. So I'm excited about those ones, Meesh.
You mentioned the bag maker and playing with the pro player, but you didn't mention little Cash Chamness playing with Alex Hicks.
Oh, yeah.
Son of
really?
DG
Let's go.
owner Rich.
Let's go.
Cash is a little shooter.
He is.
Where was that? Where was that? Were
That
we in
was
Ohio?
Minnesota. No, it's
Minnesota.
Minnesota. I think, or was it Ohio? No, maybe it was Ohio. You're right.
They went, was it bracket Damon? I think they played Damon Dennis or
Yep.
someone in the final. Oh my gosh, that'd be awesome. That would
A
be awesome.
7-year-old playing Damon Dennis. I mean, that's cornhole for you.
7 and 60. Let's go.
We got, yeah. And then Jake Gore, Steve Schrader. Just,
Yeah, that's my favorite thing about the sport is just the age discrepancy is so cool. Where else do you get that? Let's move on to some mid-season awards. So these are not, necessarily predictive, but it's who you would have as your award winners if the season ended today. Starting off with MVP, who you got, Trey?
Yeah, I think this one's pretty straightforward. I got to go with Mark Richards, and I think it gets capped off by the fact that he just won in doubles alongside Tony Smith. When we're talking about someone, we've only had 7 opens. There's been 2 players to win 2 of them. That would probably propel them towards the top. And then you add on the fact that Mark Richards and now Tony Smith take down the most recent open. I still think Mark Richards is the best player in the world right now. I would go, my MVP would be pretty easy, Mark Richards.
Anthony?
Yeah, I agree. Open 3 champ, Open 4 champ. You mentioned the doubles championship. 3 of 4 times they've won their bracket, or he's won his bracket in doubles, obviously playing with Tony Smith. So he's my MVP, which is I was the only one that kind of pulled out Caleb Batson as potentially the #1 player in the world. I'm thinking ahead to the pro season. I'm still standing by. I think Caleb Batson could threaten that #1 spot for Mark Richards. But right now he's the MVP.
Rookie of the year.
Yeah, this is a 2-horse race for me. And I know some people will be even bothered
Don't do it, Trey.
by even me mentioning, right, that it is a 2-horse race, because you're like, all right, Trey, how many rookies have won an Open? 1. How many have they won? They've won 2 of them. That should be the easiest answer in the world. And it's still not the easiest answer in the world for me. I still am trying to find a way to get Jeremiah Ellis, because I just think that potential is so much there, but I can't grade on potential. Right now, the rookie of the year is Ryan Trader.
Okay.
He has earned that. It's his spot. Maybe being predictive, I may predict something else, but right now, Ryan Trader has earned it. If there was actually anything up to this date that Trader hasn't lived as much up to, it's on the doubles side, and I don't know if you can fully just put that all on Trader himself. Ellis has had more success with multiple partners on that double side. When we think about MVP, we do have to consider singles and doubles.
Yeah.
But still, as of right now, it needs to go to Ryan Trader. He has earned it, and he gets to hold it until someone else takes it from him.
Fair. Anthony?
Yeah, they're even on the 5 open singles. They've both won their bracket 3 times, so we can call that a wash. But really what's standing out there is 2-0, like you were saying, Trey, in the singles wins. Ellis, I think, is, just a little bit, got a little bit of a head on the double side. He has 3 bracket wins, but yeah, I'm with Trey on this one. Ryan Trader right now, but it is by no means, far from Jeremiah Ellis. He's right there.
He is right there. Comeback player of the year.
All right, this is new this season. So similar to other sports, someone that's making a resurgence, right? Not the first time they've been there, but maybe a time when they've come back for whatever different reason. I have a split. I'm giving this award to 2 different people, and
okay.
It's my
Meesh doesn't allow that.
Cheater.
Yep.
Meesh does not allow that.
So I have a split award between, and because there are 2 different reasons, and if one wouldn't qualify, I would understand why. If Ryan Windsor qualifies for this award, I'm going to give it to Ryan Windsor, because Ryan Windsor used to be, for like 3 straight seasons, the like #2 player in the world, #3 player in the world, whatever it was.
Number
right?
2.
Yeah. And then last season, he finished as 23rd. Is that bad? No. But it's not the same level of Ryan Windsor. Right now, Ryan Windsor is playing easily top 10, borderline top 5 level performance with the consistency and the high finishes that he is putting forth. And so for that, I think he gets back into that, and he has earned his way back into that. And so I would give it to him there. The only other person that's worth putting on this list is we challenged, all of us on this show, Noah Almanza. He was someone that was ranked outside the top 100 way outside the top 100 last season. After finishing in the top 8 the year before, he already gets a W under his belt on the Open Series this year. We definitely want to see more consistency, but now we're seeing someone that I think is easily in the top 50, probably borderline top 30 coming into the conversation. And for me, someone to go top 10 all the way to 170 back into a top 30 is worthy of a comeback player. So do two different instances of accomplishing a good goal.
Anthony?
I actually do like the Windsor call. I wasn't even thinking of that because he's just always in the top 20 or whatever. But I do love that. That's a good point. I'm going to go a little bit different. Obviously, Almanza was in my thought process. I've been keeping a close eye on Eric Anderson, who fell to 100 and something. It's just not there. Jackson Gore. I don't know why I just keep coming back to him. He's 15th right now in all open standings. We're talking about he was a top 12, and then he dropped to 88. Now he's number 15 in all open standings. He has a singles bracket final at open number 4, and he has 2 doubles bracket finals with Sammy Soto. So I'm going to go Jackson Gore, but I love the Almanza call as well.
Last one is going to be Breakout Player of the Year.
This is someone that I don't think the numbers are really going to show by the end of the season or something like that. Or even if you look at like what I'm talking about now, are they that much better? They just have an it factor that they didn't have last year. And that's Ethan Walker. There's now a time when I watch Ethan Walker and I go, whoa, that guy's got it. And when he flips that switch on, he's not losing. And there's not many people in the world, we talked about this before, that have that. I think Ethan Walker has it this season. He'd be my breakout player.
Anthony?
I love it. I love that call only because it kind of supports. I put myself out there and I dropped Ethan Walker and Tony Smith's name in the same bucket like 5 months ago, which is crazy to do because we know how good Tony Smith is. But Ethan Walker's really, I think, living up to that. I love that. Let me just throw another one out there. Blaine Rozier. I think he'll also be on your list somewhere there, Trey. 48th in singles right now. He's 9th in open standings. He had a singles bracket final at open number 1, which we were all like, whoa, what's happening? 2 doubles bracket finals with Jordan Kimbrell. So it's not like he's looking across the boards to a Fisher Hamilton or something like that. He's getting it done with Jordan Kimbrell, who's also actually killing it this year too. So I'm going to say Blaine Rozier.
I like it. Time for hot takes. Trey, you got your hot take ready?
Yep, I'm going to say the first player I mentioned on my comeback player of the year ballot does not change. Ryan Windsor completes his comeback player of the year campaign. He finishes the season in that top 5 conversation.
What?
And so that he stays on my ballot, and I don't change my ballot between now and the end of the year.
Okay. Anthony?
Top 5 is hot. I love it. I'm gonna do another doubles. I kind of like this one because Ryan Smith and Ryan Wiedenfield are on my top 10, but they're right there around 10. And we have these Texas boys in Texas. I'm gonna say Braden Wilson and AJ Sims, who we haven't seen a lot of lately, outside probably that top 10 discussion, but right there are gonna finish better than Ryan Smith and Ryan Wiedenfield. Little competition there.
That's so funny because I'm also doing that, except that I'm saying that Donovan Sonelli and Caleb Medenka will finish better than Braden Wilson and AJ Sims.
Oh, I love that. That's a good one.
So you went, we went. It's funny that we use the same doubles team, but different ways. All right. We are all done here for your episode this week. You have lots of cornhole to watch this weekend in Texas. So make sure you tune in and we'll see you all next time.